YouTube, what's going on? It's your boy Concise the Barber, and in this video we have a very important thing to talk about, because when it comes to Andis, from where they came from and where they're at now, when it comes to their trimmers, we have to talk about this, and I am going to explain what is the difference from the corded Andis TI liner compared to the new GTX EXO2 that is out now. So let's go ahead and get into this video and see what I have to say about it. And yes, I do have the Andis Phenoms in this as well, because there's going to be something really significant that we have to understand when it comes to these new Andis trimmers, what they're doing, from what they got from the old and how they placed it within the new, and all of this stuff that we got. So if I had to really put this in order, it would be this way. So I'm just going to go ahead and talk about this real quick. We're going to talk about the corded GTX. I do have just a regular T-blade, not the GTX blade, but this is basically how a lot of people started to get their corded trimmers. They started to cut this piece off, we smoothen it off, everything like that, so we can deal with the heat of it. But also what we did was we calibrated this T-blade the right way. We dealt with the tension. We made sure that it was like a half moon showing, because that right there gave the cutting blade, the black blade right here that you see, it gave the right type of pressure, and it worked very, very well. But I'm gonna tell you the real main thing that I'm going to be talking about is the cutting blade. The cutting blade is kind of what makes the Andis blades great. Now, yes, also material and also the motor does as well, but the main thing that Andis has going on is that it seems like nobody else can take their type of cutting blade, because for the old cutting blade, if y'all can see right here, this cutting blade is a nice smooth cutting blade, that the steel blade is right here, and the cutting blade makes that nice C shape. It's not doing a point like this. It's actually not nice smooth. To me, why I like that is because of the fact that when it comes to, sensitive areas, behind the neck, under the chin, this will cut very nice and smooth, even though it's zero gap. Now, they also came out with the corded version. The cordless version. Once they came out with the cordless version, now we're dealing with a different type of blade and also dealing with a different type of motor. Of course, now you start worrying about runtime. Once you got cordless, you worry about runtime. Corded, we never worried about runtime. You just worried about the heat, at that time. So when they came out with this, they gave us a different type of cutting blade and also a different type of motor. So that is why you're seeing the real big difference in the first generation. Now, the gray ones were literally the first generation. This is the second generation that came out. But I will have to say that that wasn't a bad step into the cordless, but I would say that the second version, these are the second versions. I think that this is the way how it should have came out, period, once it got cordless. That's just, my take on this. So this right here, it is a nice, as y'all see, they started to do the cutoff thing, from people doing it like this. So that's kind of smooth. I'm glad they did that. So a lot of people, honestly, they weren't really impressed by this version, and I can understand why. Is because what makes this great, like I said earlier, is the cutting blade. If you don't have this cutting blade on it, that takes like half of it. So now, we got a brush motor, rotary motor in this. Now this is corded. I think this is a magnetic, I could be wrong, but a magnetic motor, and it just works, right? It just works. The corded version using a magnetic motor, it just works. I could be wrong, y'all can let me know, but it just works. The rotary motor brush on the cordless, to me, was like, okay, because now let's get into the two that are brushless, right? And also another thing that this lacked was tension. The tension on this wasn't as significant as the corded was. The corded tension was by far the best tension they have had, before a lot of stuff came out. So this tension right here wasn't the best tension, and the motor probably wasn't the best, and also the cutting blade. So they did some some things that was different. Now let's talk about switching out the motor. Now they went to brushless motors, and these two do have brushless motors in them. I will have to say though, this Phenom trimmer has a cutting blade, and I'll show you right here. It has a different cutting blade, compared to the original T outliner, if you can see right there. different type of cutting blade. So even though that the motor is great, brushless motors are great. We noticed that. I think this has 7,200 RPMs. The blade is nice though. I will say that it's not the original blade, but it is nice. I do like how this does cut, and it also does give you the crunch still. And I do have this zero gap, as y'all seen, and it cuts well. I have no problems with this trimmer. When they went to the Phenoms, you know, in that cutting style, like cutting blade style, you know, using a brushless motor, I think that, okay, if you are going to switch out the blade, then it should perform like this. It should operate like this. It should come out with the Phenom. This is the deep tooth. It got the right cutting blade on it. It has the right motor on it. So that being said, this works. And out of the new version of cordless, I would have to say that the Phenom is the one that worked the best so far once this came out. Now, since we got from here with beautiful tension, this is like not the best tension. This came out with another type of tension, and honestly I don't have no problems with this yet, but it's not like the original. I would have to say once we got to the new Andis GTX EXO2, to me the name in itself is crazy. Now this right here, the latest version of Andis trimmers in this style. So let's just put the Phenom to the side, but in this style, I would have to say these are the closest to the corded I have ever used out of an Andis lineup so far, because this does have the original blade setup. It has an M-Force blade. Actually, we're going to talk about that, but what I mean by blade setup, I mean that it's a deep tooth, and the cutting blade is just like the corded cutting blade. If you want to get the same type of performance that we used to get from the corded, I honestly felt like it's smart to keep this as similar as possible. And I do like the new way that they did this. Now they gave us indentions for our fingers and thumbprint, and I do like that. And allowing us to get this type of cutting blade on this steel blade with the same type of motor that the Phenom has, which is a brushless motor, I honestly think that this is literally the real true 2.0 from the corded GTX. Me, hands down. I mean, I think this version and the gray one were like the test, right? And then they got it right with the Phenoms when it comes to like the internals. But once they put the internals into the original like type of design with the right blade, to me, like these two work so well, so similar. And the only difference is one is corded, one is cordless. And like I said, you still hear that nice sound, that nice crunch. But the main thing is that the cutting blade, now if they would have did everything, if they would have switched out the internals, still would have made this brushless and did something else with the blade, I can't say that this would be so similar to this, because with this having the cutting blade of the original, to me, it's just like, it just makes more sense to me. So that's something that I'm glad that Andis went back to. But let's talk about the tension part. So we started out with tension looking like this, right? We started out with the tension looking like that. Now they have a new technology called M-Force, using magnets that keeps the cutting blade and the steel blade together, but also not only does it keep it together, it keeps it level so it doesn't go rock, you know, left to right, and it goes over the steel blade. But not only that, it actually helps with heat resistance. This trimmer does not get hot at all. Not like compared to all the ones that you see here. I would say that the Andis GTX EXO2, it gets hot the least. So that being said, it has a one up on the corded in that aspect. This will get hotter a lot quicker than this would. So I really do see the longevity of this cordless trimmer. Now, of course, because I honestly never had anything go wrong with my internals when it comes to anything from Andis. So to me, I definitely think that this is something that's going to stay on people's stations for a very long time. Now, of course, they still might come out with some stuff, but I think this is going to be the most generic takeover of trimmer of the lineup. Now, these two right here are my go-tos, hands down. I use the Phenoms and the EXO2s all the time. These two hand in hand work very, very well, and I can just continue to switch them out. But I will have to say, when it comes to blade, when it comes to certain areas on my clients, I prefer to use the EXO2s more than I do the Phenoms. Even though the Phenoms have no problem with it, I'm speaking more so now, you know, for the client of the feel, of the comfortability. This cuts smooth for them. And I know because I've been asking them, and this cuts nice and smooth as well, but I know this has more of a possibility of some irritation. I can't use this on anybody and everybody. The main reason why we love the corded TI line is because we can zero gap and get the tension right. And if you did it the right way, you can use this on anybody and everybody, right? That's, you know, that's what it is. With these, now these took over that position for me, literally. These are right behind it. You know, if I had to say like Andis lineup, I'm saying like this is a 10, this is a 9.8. Like there's not much difference but the blade. If I got the Phenom and I switched out the blade, if I put the cutting blade on this, to me, they'll basically be the same type of trimmer with just different body feels. So that's my thoughts when it comes to these Andis trimmers from old to new, what they added, what they took out, all of that, right? And to me, these two are the go-tos. These are my go-tos. I'm always going to keep a corded Andis trimmer. It is what it is. But there's a reason why the corded TI liner was king. But I will have to say, when I got to the cordless EXO2s, they did it right and it works. So that's my thoughts. I would love to know what y'all think about the Andis lineup. Do y'all like, you know, where they're going, what they're doing and stuff like that? I do like the fact that they gave us some of the touches of the old and brought it into the new, because to me, it was a necessity. You couldn't get here to greatness and then just come here, it being okay. Like y'all had to go back in some things and put some things on this. The Phenoms, I know they did something different with the Phenoms, but I'm glad they did because of that brushless motor. And the brushless motor, let's go ahead and put these internals in this. So it's like these two, like, not to say had a baby, but they became best friends, and this is not their idea. So to me, the EXO2s, just to talk about Andis trimmers, out of their whole lineup, is probably by far the best trimmer to get out of the Andis lineup. Now, you can wait to try to get it. I know it is a little bit pricey, but if you do want to use my discount code concise10 on their website, so you can save yourself some money if you're in the market for a trimmer lineup. So that's my thoughts, man. Y'all take it easy. I can't wait to see y'all in the next video. But it's your boy Concise. I'll see y'all in the next video.
CTB, you know who it is.